Bitstorm, a comedy game design podcast by two guys who know nothing about comedy nor game design. I am Ben Slinger, back in the seat, and with me as always is Mr. Trevor Scott.
No, I'm Sammy Deej, back again.
Oh, shit. Sammy, taking over. Body Snatch Trevor. You kinky leprechaun. Okay, so I think we're going to start with Click Picture again. Trevor, for those who didn't hear the episode 2 weeks ago and the week before that, do you want to tell them about our new game?
Ben has found a set of weird images. He's created a website. On the count of 3, 2, 1, click. Ben or I will put a picture into our Discord messenger. We'll see the picture for the first time, have a good laugh, describe the picture to you, and then come up with a game design based off of that picture.
Actually, no, this time we're not going to describe the picture. We're going to come up with the game design, and then you have to tweet at us and tell us what you think the picture was. No, I'm just kidding. All right, I think... So these are technically stock photos, weird stock photos, put together on a Board Panda list. Somewhere there's like 175 of them, so we have the URLs, and yeah, we don't know what this is going to be, so here we go. You ready, Trev?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, enter. Okay. We have an elderly couple with a rifle that they've taken apart and are kind of
playfully pointing at each other.
Yeah, like almost like fake sword fighting with parts of this rifle, while a large brown bunny sits on a table looking very worried.
And I'm not sure what that is in front of the bunny, but it looks to be like some sort of weird like fireplace poker or something like that.
I mean, I suspect
or it's a rifle
part
cleaner?
of the rifle. I think it's part of the rifle. Yeah, or the cleaner or something. Yeah, so... Yeah, I think they are. I think they're cleaning it. It does look like they're cleaning it.
Okay, so
they've got into just a random rifle part play fight.
Okay, this sounds like a cooperative game in which you've got to put a rifle together while you're also like sort of a married couple. So it's sort of like a flirty sort of put the rifle together and also kill the rabbit. Okay.
No. I like this. Let's not limit it to a married couple, but I do like the idea of a cooperative game where, you have to like put together weapons to solve whatever the problem is. Yeah, like I guess a hunting game.
Yeah, it's sort of like, look, there's dinner in front of you, but you need to put the rifle together. Yeah. VR as usual, because I think for what we're looking at here, that would make sense. So is this maybe like you're in a field or you're in... Again, we can... I'm sort of thinking you can really mix this up with... The reason I said let's not limit it to a married couple is like that can be one set of characters, but you can choose your characters and you can figure out their relationship. And then maybe you can also start in different places and hunt different animals. And so maybe it's sort of you get to this place and there are just pieces scattered around everywhere and you have to find and they don't all necessarily go to the one weapon, right? Oh, yeah.
So it's almost a bit of a cooperative scavenger hunt to start with where you're running around this area, trying to find weapon parts, figuring out which ones fit to which. And so there's a bit of like, hey, I've got looks like some sort of rifle with this sort of clip on the end. Like, do you have something that matches that? So you kind of
all I've got over here is a hilt to a lightsaber. Okay, let's try to find that.
Look, this is the thing. You can have all sorts of different bizarre weapons, and then all the while, like the wildlife that you're trying to hunt is like running away or getting scared off.
The wildlife is putting together its own set of weapons.
Yes. And they're also played by humans. It's a 4-player game. Actually, I kind of like that, not directly in that sense, but like that one team's putting together weapons and the other team's putting together traps. Like that could be really cool. And so you sort of got almost an offensive and defensive team with different sort of things they can do.
Yeah, I quite like this idea. I'm just imagining, almost the sizzle reel, that you sort of show to
show off your game, and there's a lot of sort of like putting things together all, you know, calmly and doing little sword fights in VR and all this sort of stuff while you're putting together these weapons, and then it turns into like this bloodbath
absolutely.
of absolutely mowing down all these rabbits. And
well, maybe instead of so maybe
it's sort of like
maybe
a wave
instead
shooter.
of the yeah, that's where I was going to go. Instead of the 2-team thing, it's you've just got the one team. You could do it up to like 4 players. And you're not just trying to find like one weapon, obviously. You're trying to put together as many weapons as you can from all these pieces and maybe traps and stuff. You've got a time limit. And then it basically becomes a wave, like a horde mode wave shooter. Yep. And you just have to survive as long as you can. And you could still potentially be putting together weapons. You know, there could be different strategies. At the beginning, it's like, okay, put all like triggers over here, put all hilts over here, put all stocks over here, put all barrels over here, so that when you're, you know, later on, and you know, you may be putting together any weapons that you can find the complete pieces for as you go, but like later on, if your weapon gets damaged or you lose it or whatever, it's like, okay, shit, I've got this and I need a barrel. Okay, go over to the barrel pile that we created earlier.
Yeah.
So there becomes a real preparation stage of really figuring out what all these pieces are and how they go together.
I'm just now imagining like the pro couples, you know, the pro couples event at like all these different game, you know, the esports and all that sort of stuff. You've got basically one person who does the assembling / reloading, and the other person who's like a crack shot.
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love having to like, manually reload and stuff, or maybe they can even get jammed and you have to like clean them and different things, so you got to deal with stuff.
Yeah, so basically the other person who's preparing the weapons, you know, these are the real pros. They do it this way. Basically, the person who's shooting never has to manually reload. The cheap nasty teams, you know, they're sort of trying to do it themselves and not actually working together.
Yeah, the pro team's just like, all right, you know, whatever, like next, you know, that throws the weapon to them as they throw the other one behind them, and then the other person like reloads it and fixes it up, and meanwhile they're assembling other weapons. And
I'm just imagining like the pro teams, you know, they start realizing, hang on, just because, you know, the game sort of says that you got to put the shotgun together like this doesn't mean that I can't put, you know, 6 barrels of a shotgun in together and that becomes like a Gatling gun.
There was the other direction I was going to go to, that it could be a bit more flexible around how they go together and which parts are compatible with which. That could get really fun.
Yep. As long as you've got a systems-based sort of setup behind it, you know, each part has like different modifiers and that sort of stuff, and they can sort of go together in a certain way.
I think we came up with a game a while back where you were sort of having to put together guns in that way that did all weird sorts of things. This is almost an extension of that, where, like if you've got a trigger piece, then whatever that does, it just like, it triggers the fire button of what it, you know, and so you could do things like hook that trigger up to a barrel thing but you put lightsabers at the end of each barrel, and when you hit the trigger, they all turn on at once, and you've just got this like huge
lightsaber bayonet.
Yeah, except it's like 6 of them horizontally, so it's like this big, huge blade. Yeah.
Oh, we call it the Gatling shield.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right.
I'm going to hold off on the on my click picture till the end. I think we should only do 2.
Sure.
And we'll bookend it. I think that's a good way of doing it.
That sounds good to me. So let's move over to Click Pitch, which is a similar game, except instead of weird images, we just have random words. So we're each going to get a random word and turn those into games. 3, 2, 1, click.
Violation.
Meat. MEAT, meat. Meat violation.
Ooh. I'm sort of getting this as a game where you get to go into different butcher shops and try to find basically your health code violation or health code inspector.
Yeah.
So you're
sorry. I just love that reaction where you're like, oh, you get to go into all these different butcher shops. Like it's this super exciting thing that everybody just wants to do. Just go butcher shop to butcher shop.
At the moment, I just want to go outside
That's true. I guess in our current situation, social isolation, physical isolation, going to a bunch of butcher shops would be pretty nice. Especially if there's actually meat there.
For those of you who don't realise, we actually record this every single week from the comfort of our own homes and speak over the wonder that is the internet. So we are not actually in the same room.
While our production has not been affected by the pandemic and the distancing that is a result, our sanity has to a certain degree over the past week or so.
And we'll continue to do so. Please do let us know if our jokes at the expense of the pandemic, if they're not good, because I mean, we're only joking in jest because it's it's how we cope. We cope by
this ridiculous situation that everybody's in.
Yep. So
along those lines, meat violation.
Yep. Well, it's just a perfect time to bring it out. Like, 'cause we have joked about it in the past, and now it's getting pretty serious. And
it is getting very serious. Stay the fuck at home, everybody.
Stay the fuck at home.
If you need something to do, we have a backlog of 171 episodes.
If you need something to do on a Tuesday night and you feel like joining in, send us a message.
Just call us up. We'll open the phone lines.
You give us a random word and then we riff on it. You don't get to play. Okay. Meat violation, health code inspector, having to go through and like rate all these different places. I'm thinking,
so
VR.
if you've got your temperatures, like you've got your thermometer, you've got your little, I don't know, do you have to test the color of the meat? You have to what are the things you need to do to make sure meat is correct? Correct meat.
So in order to grade the meat and the premises, you need to be able to go in, check all the temperatures. It's almost like a VR Papers, Please, I'm seeing it as. That each time you're going in and you're sort of now going, okay, people now have to keep temperature charts for not only their display cabinet, but they also need to keep temperature charts for like the freezer at the back and the fridge. And now they need to fill out this form every day to say that they've that when they received their goods that this temperature was happening, and they need to
like chain of evidence.
And as you sort of go down through the list every day, there's more things that you need to check off on your checklist.
Yeah. Okay. So very much following that Papers, Please model of kind of slowly building up the complexity of what you have to be aware of.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that. And then you can have the sort of little social situations where, one of the butchers tries to bribe you because, their meat isn't at the right temperature, but they want to sell it anyway.
Or they missed one temperature marking off, and you can see that it was whited out and the correct temperature was put on top. But you have a feeling that something actually happened that day.
Or you spot in the back room that all the carcasses are actually donkeys when they're supposed to be selling cow meat.
How dare you sell donkey meat when you're supposed to be selling horse meat? I mean, really. I can tell the difference. And I'm thinking you could go a little bit strange with it, like maybe there's an alien invasion in one of the earlier sort of days, and by like 4 days later they're now selling alien meat.
Excuse me, I want to keep this butcher rating game extremely serious. It's a very serious business, and there are lots of people out there who are either in the butchery field or the health code field that want us to make this game as accurate as possible.
Signed, Jacqueline London, health inspector.
Having said that, one guy's selling dinosaur meat. And he looks kind of like Dennis Nedry.
And he's also got a time machine. But he doesn't use it to get meat. Just uses it to go back in time and visit his wife.
Oh, and then it turns into this whole like time travel romance.
Well, you can take it down that path. That's one of the endings.
Health code.
You get lost in time.
And then you're back in like, it turns into the Flintstones, and now you're going to like, you're like, this giant rack of ribs has been on the ground. Looks like it's fallen off a car or something.
And then they say, we don't have any health code. What's a health code?
It's a living.
They say, what's a health code? And your head explodes.
All right, 3, 2, 1, click. Discovery.
Hit
Discovery?
Yes.
Oh, you're some sort of talent scout?
Oh, I knew that you were going to go down the music route.
Oh, I didn't say music. Maybe it's baseball hits.
Or boxing hits. Or
yeah.
We've done boxing
or
before. We've done
kick ball hits.
Okay. What I was actually thinking of was your character wakes up one day not knowing where they are, and they realize that they've like had some sort of black eye or something like that, and they've discovered that they've actually been assaulted, but they don't remember what happened.
That.
So
it's an amnesia, recovering your memory sort of thing after you've had a concussion or something.
Yeah.
Like you've obviously had a bad hit.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's a little bit more serious than like, dude, where's my car? But it's in that same sort of vein of you following your tracks, and almost like a part memento, part dude, where's my car?
Dude, where's my tattoos telling me who I am?
What's mine say? Dude, what's mine say? Sweet.
What's mine say? Don't trust him. Don't trust Teddy. I know, it's so good. All right, okay. I like this idea of it. Yeah, like a bit of a gritty kind of amnesiac, recovering their memory story. Are we talking like point and click-ish? Where do you want to go?
Yeah, I'm thinking
match 3. Every time you make a match, a little bit more of your memory comes back.
But if you make the wrong match for the actual level, you want to make 13 oranges and 14 purples. But if you make a red and a green, then you start getting false memories. No.
Oh god.
I'm definitely thinking along the lines of, I think, an adventure game, but in a slightly different way, in the fact that it's not necessarily a point and click as such, but it's almost along those lines of a Gabriel Knight 3 or Discworld Noir that slightly do it outside of the norm. So
yeah, okay.
It's more about
so it's horrible 3D,
polygonal 3D.
Yeah. Okay, so less like straight kind of inventory puzzles.
Yeah, I'm thinking more along the lines of your inventory is memories.
I was about to say maybe it's one of those games where you're kind of matching concepts and stuff. So when you get in a conversation, you can ask about things that you've remembered.
Yeah,
basically. I like that. Yeah, you're kind of uncovering things that way.
And that way, when someone gives you a little bit of exposition, you can sort of match it against something that you either know or you take it as fact, but it may not be pure truth.
Interesting.
Like they may have their own agenda.
Having to change your sort of mind map of what you believe and what you know.
Yeah.
Based on the things you've heard. And then when there's a conflict, you have to like either
resolve it.
Resolve it by finding yet another source to kind of correlate against, or I don't know if you branch it even, right? Like you internally have to make a decision on which of these do you believe, and it like locks out certain conversation paths.
I'm sort of almost in my head going down like that. If you remember a while ago, we talked about like this world that people's memories were being like continually recorded. I kind of like the idea that this character has like a blank spot in their tape sort of thing. That the last 24, 48 hours are completely gone.
Was that the one with like the time scissors?
Yes, but I'm thinking that we just sort of take that idea of...
Oh, or was it the Cyberpunk one you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it was the Cyberpunk thing that I was talking about. But anyway, but it's more along the lines of, one of those Black Mirror sort of episodes, so you can sort of play around a little bit.
Well, I kind of like that idea of taking it a bit cyberpunky, a bit Black Mirror-ish, going into that kind of dark neon future, and having that be what you're exploring. But having so in that case, the visualizations of your mind map are actually in game.
Yep.
As in they're in world, and so you've got a bit of. Then you've got your character kind of actually saying there's this blank spot. I don't know what's up. I don't know what's happening. Or is it that's a blank spot, or is it just it's been completely erased up until that point?
Yeah, I think there's this 48-hour period at first that you got to try and fill in, because someone's after some of the information.
So it's just not a you wake up and you don't know who you are. It's just you wake up and you've got
you wake up and
lost time.
You look in the mirror and you've got a black eye, you've got maybe a broken arm, and you're like, okay, I've now discovered that, I've been hit at some stage, I've been in a fight or something like that. But I don't remember anything that's happened for the last 48 hours, and it's all about, piecing that together because you know that this isn't normal. Yeah, I don't know. I think you could almost do a day in the life sort of thing beforehand. I'm
thinking that if you're going this cyberpunk way where you've got all your memories recorded, then it's about going back. You can learn bits about who you are by opening that interface basically and going back through your old memories. Obviously, we'd have to limit them so we don't have to literally put an entire life's worth of memories somehow into this game.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking like if you remember the Rick and Morty episode where they went into Roy. And you got to see all the little bits that Morty went through in the Roy game. I kind of like that you pick out these specific moments that sort of define Roy or whoever our character is.
You get you get those little snippets, but then you've got this big blank spot, and I like the idea that as you're then exploring, and you've got people telling you these things, you get these. It's not just this is the fact, it's here's the animation basically of what you now remember, what you think happened in that time.
I kind of also like the idea
you can then play back as you like.
That as you're going, because this has been the first time in your life that you haven't been able to have perfect recall of every single thing, as you go, you're actually starting to your memory was atrophied or your brain was atrophied somewhat because it's now not being able to rely on the evidence that it usually is able to rely on, that you start getting actual memories back about these 48 hours sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I like this idea because in a world where, everybody's memories are recorded verbatim at all times, to have some missing ones and not be able to rely on that now is going to be,
a shock
an existential crisis. Yeah. And so exploring what this person is going through, and sort of having to rely on fuzzy memories or conflicting memories or conflicting ideas as they sort of get told things and different things, different parts of their memory come back. That could be really cool.
Yeah.
Having to reconcile that.
Yeah. I've been reading a few different things lately about what sort of going forward, people's integration with technology will actually be, and people are talking about actual chips that sort of aid with memory and all these sort of things, and I'm like, well, this is kind of a bit freaky, but kind of a cool thing at the same time.
All that sort of human computer interface stuff is really interesting.
Yeah, so
especially in game form, because we can explore it however we want.
Exactly, and I think it would just add something to. I mean, there's not many games out there that sort of deal with this subject matter. So,
no, that's cool. I think that could be really cool. Having to, go back through your old memories and extrapolate through that blank spot with things you've been told as you go through this adventure.
Yeah, you could even start realizing that even though people's memories are somewhat, recorded, they can also be sort of
unreliable.
They're unreliable in the fact that people's brains will actually modify them to be what they want them to be.
Yeah, well, that could even be part of the story, is like unraveling that mystery, like discovering that. That can be part of the discovery. Yeah.
Because as far as
realizing,
I'm concerned,
everyone's treating these as,
infallible,
firm, infallible evidence, and you actually find some actual evidence that, of someone whose memory has changed, or that everyone's memories are just changing in the same way that they used to before, they were hooked up to...
Yeah, because, all the chip is doing is interpreting the brain signals. So it's not actually recording directly off of an eye camera or something like that. It's actually just interpreting the signals.
Yeah.
And however the brain sort of interpreted it depends on how it got recorded.
Oh, well, you could do some really interesting stuff there too if you manage to... Because maybe up until this point, these memory recordings were all internal to the person. So you couldn't actually see someone else's memory recording necessarily.
Yep.
Or like, I guess I don't know how they'd... they're just sort of a helper tool or whatever. And so, but you stumble onto a way to like extract, well, maybe that's how your memories are gone. Maybe you can like extract people's memories, but then by comparing multiple people's memories of the same event, you realize, oh, wait, they're all interpreting it in these different ways. They don't actually match up.
Yeah.
And so again, you don't know which to believe. That could be like a good kind of turn in the story, is like maybe your goal has after the end of Act 1, where you sort of end up knowing what's happening. Now it's like, oh, I need to find out what happened, so I need to track down these people who were there and take their memories.
I kind of like the idea that
that's going to be your big like, here's the evidence, and then the turn is, oh, they're all different. I still don't know what actually happened.
I kind of like the idea that the character knows that he's a prosecutor and has been involved in this big case sort of thing, but then and all his evidence has actually been memory based, and that's how he's won all his cases.
And all the that's how the legal system has just gone over the past 50 years since this technology hit mainstream.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
So now he's trying to go against the norm and actually get the police to actually start doing some real investigation rather than just going off eyewitness accounts. Kind of like they've forgotten almost everything about forensic evidence and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. They've just been relying on this thing because it's just like,
it's easy.
You have perfect recall. Basically witness statements have become, have become
the number one evidence over forensic sort of stuff, and just to sort of show that it's like that today, and that is actually. Witness statements are one of the most least reliable sources of information.
Yeah. That's really fun. I think a hard-hitting cyberpunk legal drama with obviously, action and adventure elements as you hunt down your memories of or other people's memories of this incident. That's really fucking cool.
Yeah. We're on a roll tonight. I'm really liking some of these games.
Totally.
I think one of us needs to take a break more often. We sort of come back with the goods.
All right.
In fact, so much that it's solid. That's my word.
Inability.
Ooh, it's a character with an inability to become solid.
Yes. I was thinking some sort of ghost or spirit or something along those lines.
Yeah.
As usual, I'm heading towards VR because I feel like it could be a really interesting thing in VR. To most of the time,
you can't actually pick things up.
You can't interact with things, but then, being able to starting to learn to do that. Because then that first moment, it's like in all those movies where someone's a ghost and they finally manage to knock something over.
Yep.
The first moment of that happening in VR, I can just imagine that being really cool. It's like, oh my God, I affected something.
Okay, when you said ghost, what was the first movie that jumped into your head?
Oh, shit. Well, Right. I don't know if this was the first movie that jumped in my head then, but the first movie that's jumped in my head now is Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby.
Yeah, guess what? Same thing.
Seriously?
I'm ashamed to admit that was the first thing that jumped in my head.
I was thinking that, like, unfortunately, yeah.
I just have that memory of him, like, putting his head through the telephone all the way out to yell at this person.
I know. What other movies have there been of the person who discovers they're a ghost and can't touch things? Like, there have been plenty. I mean, Ghost, I guess.
Yeah, Ghost.
It's probably happened in Ghost.
But as soon as you said that, what came into my head was not necessarily the image, but just the word Ghost Dad. And I'm like, damn it, why is that still in my head? I thought I purged everything Bill Cosby. I had to ask because that's what happened to me, but the fact that it happened to you too makes me actually feel a little bit more safe. Knowing that our heads work almost the exact same way.
Yes, they are similar. So, okay, I like this idea. It's basically Ghost, but in VR, you discover you're a ghost, and you start to learn to affect things. And I think it's a very narrative thing. You could even go down the kind of
now I'm wondering why I didn't think of Beetlejuice
path
first, because that's also a film that I really like. That they realize that they find out that they're ghosts.
Yeah, like, I mean, again, it's sort of that classic. It's sort of that classic thing, but like you said, like, I don't know that there's actually that many movies that do it in that classic way. There's just sort of this general pop culture consciousness of that moment that someone realizes they're a ghost. It's probably been, like, satirized more times than it's happened legitimately in movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we do it legitimately. I think this is like, yeah, kind of a tragic romance or something, in the vein of Ghost.
Yep.
Told from, you play the ghost. And yeah, first you can't touch anything. You can move around and you can go through walls, which is fun.
Yep.
I don't know how. I guess you'd have to make this room scale VR maybe, to really have that, like, poking your head through a wall sort of situation.
I don't know. I mean, the first time that I bring up, like, the teleporter, you launch the teleporter out and you're putting it towards the wall and you're expecting it to stop like it normally does in games, and all of a sudden it's through into the next room and you don't know where it's going and you let go and all of a sudden you teleport into a new room.
I guess that could be cool.
It's got something about it, a little bit of surprise.
Although actually I was kind of liking the idea of a subtle transparency that shows up as you sort of aim the teleporter through a wall, so you can get at like maybe just the outlines of things on the other side without a full image of it. Some sort of sense of where you're going without really knowing.
I'm thinking
that
maybe,
could be cool.
Like a 50% opacity sort of thing that happens.
Well, or even just like an outline shader of the things that are on the other side that kind of just subtly shows through. You know what I mean? Anyway, it's hard to explain the graphical effects on a audio podcast. But
just wait 15 minutes while I quickly write up a shader in Unity like this.
But that's cool, and I think initially you're almost just an observer as these conversations and things go on around you in this house, and you start to obviously figure out what's happening, and you can, like, you find a diary or some mail or whatever, and it looks like it might have some useful information on it, but you can't fucking touch it. But I think, fairly quickly you at least discover you can do something, like make a sound, or like you can snap your fingers or something, or you can...
I'm trying to think how a snap of the fingers will work in VR.
Oh, it'd have to be a button. It'd have to be a button. But then you've got a mechanic. And so maybe it is then like, oh, you can get someone's attention and they notice the mail's there and they pick it up and you can read over their shoulder to get some information. And then, eventually you learn to make yourself sort of semi-corporeal. And I think your hand, like, still goes through stuff, but it'll give it a little bit of force. It'll get a little bit of impulse, as you push through. And that way you can kind of start solving puzzles and stuff that are around in the environment. And I think it's basically sort of an adventure game in that way. Of there's just puzzles to move the narrative forward, but they're all done through, very, very minor things that you can do as a ghost.
Yep. What are the rules in this world? Can you leave your domicile?
Good question. I think no. I think obviously, you probably want to limit the play space.
So in other words, it's
degree.
Beetlejuice rules.
It's Beetlejuice rules. And again, you could do something cool with the teleporter effect where as you get to the edge of the space that you can go, you try to teleport to a certain place and you get some cool sort of thing that, the little teleporter UI line burns up at the end or something.
100%.
Right?
What happens is that it's like the old King's Quest games that you get to the edge of the map and then it just wraps into the other side of the map again. So
oh my God. That's sort of creepy in VR.
Yeah.
Did you see that? Or is it just you go through sort of
the house
invisible...
goes on forever, basically, as far as you're concerned. I like the idea that you can keep on, walking and walking and walking.
Oh,
and
I was sort of picturing that you could at least go outside into like the near vicinity of the house. But yeah, you could do it that you have to stay inside.
It's kind of freaky.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. You could make that wrap work well. Because I think you can still see outside out the windows, but then you try to go through that window and you find yourself just at the opposite end of the house. That's kind of cool. And then I think you're obviously seeing these things go on around you and discovering what happened to you and who you are. Maybe as a ghost in this realm, you don't have memories.
Mm-hmm.
Just to help with the standard gameplay of the players not having any knowledge beforehand. Yeah, I know. It's cool.
Okay, so there's got to be an
fucking
antagonist.
Ghostbusters burst in and...
Yeah, I was going to say, there needs to be an antagonist. I kind of like the idea that it's maybe the Angel of Death or something like that keeps on coming to try and take you away.
I was going to say, though, like, along the line of the Ghostbusters, it could be fun that you get to the point where the people in this house...
An exorcist or something like that.
Yeah, like they're starting to realize it's haunted and they start calling people in. And sometimes these people that come in actually do something that's effective. I like the idea of the kind of... Well, they call in the exorcist and you're just standing there like, what the fuck? Like nothing's happening. You're snapping your fingers around him and the exorcist gets freaked out and leaves. They call in some fucking ghost hunter, whatever, and they put out the EK, what is it? The
PKE meter.
No, that's the voice. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Nothing happens, and then finally there's just like this complete kook. It's basically, do you remember Michael J. Fox in Frighteners?
Yes.
Yeah.
God damn, I love that film.
I know. Fucking Peter Jackson's early days. He comes in and it's like the last resort and this family's just like, what the fuck? But he does something and this giant fucking portal just opens in front of you and starts trying to suck you in. They can't see it. But for you, it's like all this shit happening.
3, 2, 1, click.
Okay. Monochrome.
Ringing.
Oh, ringing. I immediately pictured some sort of theme around the land, like the landline and taking it back in time sort of thing.
Yeah.
And hence the monochrome, the sort of coming across the screen as the phone rings. I don't know where I go with that, but that was the image I had.
Yeah, I've almost got this picture in well, it's not really a picture in my mind, as you know, but it's almost this idea of this private investigator who, when he picks up the phone, it just turns into like one of the 1930s sort of scenes and turns all black and white, and he's sort of freaked out about it at first, and like there's a case that's sort of happening in both the present and the past.
So is this actually the past, or is it more just like the fictional ideal of a noir detective sort of becomes real to this person?
Well, I think it's actually, more around the idea that as you start going through these two different cases, you realise that they're linked. It's because they are actually the same case, but this guy has just got these delusions of what...
So the two cases you're trying to solve are Who murdered Mrs. Finch? And in present day, am I brain damaged? No, I like this idea, kind of a magical realism sort of thing almost, except, well, I mean, it's not actually magical realism because this person doesn't know why it's happening and thinks it's real, basically.
Yeah. I'm thinking every time that he picks up the phone, it switches between one case and the other.
So is this a situation where this person's like a big fan of noir detective novels and, you know, feels inadequate in his current life and then one day like picks up the phone and finds himself in this novel? Or is this someone who hates noir detective novels and then finds himself in one? Like they are some sort of like a PI in real life, hates that whole trope because that's just not how it works, and then picks up the phone one day and finds himself exactly in that situation.
I think this is a guy who, when he first became a PI, he loved like the old noir PI sort of things, and that's why he became a PI. But now he's sort of jaded and become disillusioned from that whole thing,
because everything's just like taking photos of cheating spouses.
And this is one of those things that he's now got a case in which he's searching for a missing like husband or something
Maltese
like that.
Falcon.
Well, I'm thinking like missing husband or something like that. And you've got the dame that comes in and asks the question, asks him to take on the case, and then, as he picks up the phone, like all of a sudden the whole scene just melts into this black and white sort of thing, and it's the same woman there, but she's now sort of got like the cigarette on the long stick.
Okay, I'm liking this a lot because I like this idea that this woman comes in and tells him that her husband's missing, and he just sort of says, "Look, I'm sorry to say, but, he's probably cheating on you. I see this a million times. Life's not like the movies. It's not like the detective novels." And, like, she sort of starts crying, and then the phone rings. He picks it up, and, it's like, basically this, like, monochrome spews out of the phone. He's like, what the fuck? And then looks around. This woman's crying, and then his voiceover starts. Like, that's when the noir voiceover starts. It's like she looked pretty even when she was crying. I really wanted to help her, and he's just like, "What the fuck was that?" Like, he hears it and doesn't realize it's
he's the only one that hears it, though. It's like,
oh, he's the only one who hears it. Yeah, absolutely.
No one else in the world is like,
it's the chief of police on the line or something, and like they found a body. It turns out that actually this case is more than it. More than it
seems.
He thought it would be. Yeah. Like, is it only when he's on the phone? No, I think that just switches. That's what triggers the switch.
Thing is, it depends on what type of phone it is that rings. So he's always got his mobile phone on him, and if the mobile phone rings, then it's that he sort of kicks into the current day. But if it's a landline that rings that he answers, it flicks him back into the 1930s or whatever.
Well, I kind of like the idea that maybe the phone appears. So, like, he doesn't have a landline.
Yeah.
But in this scene,
one just appears. It's an old-timey phone that just appears on his desk, sort of thing.
Yeah. So maybe like the first voiceover line maybe happens even before he picks it up, and it's like, I didn't have a landline, but I had to pick up the phone to see what it was, or something like that. And then later on, it's like this, everything's old-timey and black and white, and suddenly you see this, like, bright blue light in his pocket that looks completely out of place because everything else is monochrome, and he picks it up and it's his mobile, and when he answers it, it brings him back into the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
That's super cool. I really love that.
Especially because any time that you have, like, a monochrome scene and then you'd show some colour.
Oh god, yeah, it's so effective.
Yeah, I can just imagine that, anything that you really want to point out in this monochromatic world is sort of like highlighted in color, so they really pop against the background.
Well, maybe. Although I wonder if you want to save that for indicating like his sort of fantasy world versus the real world.
Oh, yep. Well, maybe in Act 2 and Act 3, like, that's where, things start melding between. So as he's going through, this bar, it's sort of like half monochromatic, half color, and you sort of
That'd
see
be cool.
A patron walk from one side into the other and change.
Oh, fuck. That's great. All right, so what we've got here so far sounds like a really cool movie pitch. What are we doing to turn this into a game? Like, what sort of gameplay is this? Are you thinking kind of just sort of third-person adventure-y?
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking third-person adventure, because a behind-the-back sort of view could look really cool, because then you get to see
because then you're
character
back and forth between, like, you see the character, and in the color world, he's just sort of general, like, I'm picturing him sort of like standard, like, shirt with suspenders, almost like the kind of classic, just dowdy kind of look.
Yep.
And then, when he transfers into the noir world, he's got the fucking trench coat and the hat.
Yep. I'm just imagining walking down in Act 2 or Act 3, just walking down the middle, and you see half trench coat, half, like...
Yes. That'd be really cool, having those sorts of moments.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's wondering, like, there's sort of this sub-story. The main story is obviously this missing person or murder or whatever it ends up being, but the sub-story is literally, what the fuck is going on with my head? Like, why is this happening? And I don't know how you resolve that.
Well, I think it's actually, this is one of those cases of someone has lost the love of what they were doing. Yet this is what their brain is pretty much doing to them to basically kickstart their love for this is the reason why you
so
you
do you make
got
it
into
completely internal? You make it
basically you turn it into he sort of takes it down as this is something that my brain is doing to remind me what I loved about why I wanted to become a PI in the first place. But what you could actually sort of hint at is that there's like a mischievous sort of...
Well, that's what I was wondering. Like, does he have his
other being who's
godmother or something?
This.
Yeah, it's like the Christopher Walken in Click character,
Yeah, that typical sort of character, but he never finds that out. Like, he just takes it down as this is something that happened in his own mind, but in reality it didn't. Like, in reality, this was actually being caused by, sort of like a Loki-esque character.
Yeah, Trickster God.
Trickster God, yeah.
Sure.
This is really cool.
That's fucking awesome. You could do some really fucking cool shit with that. All right.
And thing is, it's something that could only happen in a game with the idea that, you can actually see what happens as something goes from one side to another, and you can actually play with talking to people in one side and talking to people in the other. And
well, you could even do some interesting stuff, like if you're on the noir side, you've got a gun, but if you're on the real life side, you don't. Maybe you've got a taser or something, but
a taser or pepper spray or something like that.
Yeah, but like that actually has a gameplay implication.
Either you shoot someone in the head and they're dead, or you shoot them in the face and they're blinded or incapacitated, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, and I wonder anyway, you could explore some of those things. What happens if you shoot someone in the head on the noir side and then drag the body over to the other side? Are they still dead?
I don't know, but Ben, guess what time it is?
All right, I'm in Discord.
3, 2, 1, enter. Okay.
Do you want to explain it? Since
it is a young red-headed kid putting what looks to be bologna
deli
meat or something like that into a CD drive.
Into a CD drive. This is a very sort of mischievous looking ginger. Although, I guess he doesn't look like he's mischievous. He looks like he thinks it's actually going to do something.
Yeah, he thinks this is a cup holder as well as a deli meat holder. Therefore, let's put it inside.
Well, okay, here's the other thing though. Is he putting it in or is he taking it out?
Ooh.
Because he has
he's making a sandwich.
Yeah, he's making a sandwich. He's got at least 3 other pieces
on that sandwich is this CD player somehow generating deli meat?
Or is this a game where you're making a sandwich, but you don't know where you put all the ingredients, and they could be
ingredients.
It could be anywhere in the house.
Find your sandwich ingredients.
Like, you lift up the seat cushion and you see like a piece of cheese, and that's now on your sandwich.
Oh my god, that's funny. Now, does the fact that he's a hardcore ginger have anything to do with the gameplay?
I think that's just one of the that's your basic character.
It's your default character.
Default character is a ginger. They don't get enough love.
Ginger kid in a vest, sure.
Yep. And well, you're a ginger person in a vest. You don't have to be a kid. Like your random character generator just shows you as a redheaded.
Or we have very specific like characters, with different skills, and in a sort of an Overwatch fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And Ginger Kid in the Vest is just really good at finding deli meat. Like, if you really want a deli meat sandwich, then that's who you choose to play in this multiplayer squad based sandwich making online game.
Jeez, this is one of the weirdest damn images that I've ever sort of seen. Like, and the fact that we've actually come up with a game that could literally actually happen. I think it's a pretty cool premise. So, what else is hidden around the house? I mean, obviously, it can't just be sandwiches.
All right. Well, I mean, you turn on the sink.
Yep.
And
Coke comes out.
Coke comes out if you turn on the hot. Chocolate milk comes out if you turn on the cold. If you turn on the shower, you get spaghetti.
Yep. If you flush the toilet.
Oh, God. I wasn't going to go there, but okay.
It's just normal. It's water.
Okay, good.
Just water, and it flushes shit away. Thank you. But if you open up the cistern at the top, then you can actually get like Dr. Pepper. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. This sandwich is going to be very wet so far, based on most things.
Well, we're talking to all.
It's not just sandwich.
Well, ooh, you said spaghetti before, and I'm thinking this is all about making jaffles.
Okay,
because
as in like a grilled cheese, like a grilled sandwich, a toasted sandwich.
Yeah.
For those who might not know the term jaffles, which I think is relatively regional.
Yeah, but why don't you know it?
Continue.
Learn your bloody awesome sandwiches. So the cool thing about a jaffle is it's an actual sealed toasted sandwich. It's not one of those, oh, look, I've got a sandwich press and you just press it together. No, this is an actual sealed sandwich. So you can actually put things like spaghetti or baked beans or something like that in it. The idea is that you can seal it.
Yes.
And toast it at the same time, which is really cool.
Did you know that that's called a jaffle because there was a brand called Jaffle?
Really?
In the 50s? Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
The more you know. No, you made me lose my train of thought.
Good. It was a bad train. No, just kidding. Yeah, sorry, go on. Yes, seal. You can seal. So you're trying to find...
Well, you've not only got to find the ingredients, but you've also got to find out what is the jaffle maker in this house. Like, again, Loki, the trickster god. Because it
could be like when you open the bread crock. That's also a word that nobody uses.
The bread box.
The laptop.
Yeah. You see the indentations.
Yeah, you open the laptop and instead of like a keyboard inside, it's got, the indentations for the bread that push it into shape.
I'm just imagining now that you come to your old, like, we're talking probably a late 90s, early 2000s computer for some reason that you've got that has a 3.5-inch drive. You press the eject button on the 3.5-inch drive, and out comes a piece of cheese. And it's like, that'll fit nicely just on here.
Where do you get a sausage? If I want a sausage, like a hot dog, lipstick,
sock drawer,
like you turn the lipstick, and a hot dog just starts coming out, and you keep turning it. It just keeps going.
I kind of want to see that. Like you keep turning the lipstick case and out comes like this.
Yeah, it just like keeps coming despite the fact that that's not.
You see a foot-long hot dog come out of this tiny little lipstick case. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, what else can come out of like weird and wonderful places?
What comes out of the power sockets? Like
grated cheese of all things.
Grated cheese. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense for this sort of shape. You turn on the heaters and bread. Is that where the bread comes from? Like pops out of the grate? You get like a pre-sliced loaf of bread that comes out of your heater vent?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Vacuum cleaner. That's where your hot dog comes from. You turn on the vacuum cleaner or like cucumbers or something.
Where do the French fries come from? They're maybe the air conditioning vent?
Yeah, that could work. Or like the vent at the back of the computer or something. You know what I mean? Like
what else would be seen underneath like the sofa? Like obviously deli meat is coming from the CD drive. We know that.
Yes. The picture knows all and it told us that.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking that maybe you pull up the sofa and there's like margarine there that you can just sort of pick up and put on your bread.
Like just loose margarine.
Loose margarine, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have 4 kids. There's definitely just loose margarine in my sofa.
You put your hand in your pocket and it's like, well, that's where the margarine ended up.
Yep.
Okay, so do you get style points for like putting weird and wonderful things on these sandwiches?
I think there's a professional chef who, in the style of just weird shit coming out of shit, you turn the TV on and he steps out of the TV and is there in your living room. And he takes a sandwich from you and just gives you some points.
And then he asks you, did you open up your remote and see the pickles that I put in there?
Like the battery holder.
The battery holder.
Yeah, totally. Some little pickles. It's like, would it be better with pickles? He picks up the remote. It's like, yeah. Docking you 0.7 points.
Picks up the toothpick dispenser and starts putting Parmesan cheese on his
This is totally... It's always just a toy, and as usual, VR...
oh, yeah. But one of the cool things is, depending on the character that you pick, depends on the scale of the room. So, if you pick a kid... Yeah.
Well, maybe the style of the food.
Style of the food and the scale of the room. I really love the idea of, if you pick a kid, you literally see this as a massive, massive, massive house. Whereas if you pick the 6-foot-tall guy, you're
bumping your head on the door frames.
You're bumping your head on the door frames, and like the whole room seems almost smaller and harder to actually get at the little button to eject the cheese.
Yeah. 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 Oh, if you find a pen, you click the end and tomato sauce comes out.
Oh yeah. Or soy sauce, because that's black.
Again, it depends on
the color
character
of the pen.
You pick. The color of the pen. Good.
Yep.
But I was also thinking that the different characters, like if you pick the little ginger kid, you find hot dogs and tomato sauce and like chicken nuggets. But if you pick like the older, more foodie sort of person, then you get like soy
sushi
sauce and sushi and fucking truffles.
Right. I'm trying to think of the worst place in the entire room for the foodie guy, and it has to be the toilet, and that's where you get the coriander from, because that's where it belongs.
All right. On that coriander hating note.
Oh, sorry for our American audiences. In the toilet, you find the cilantro. Because that's where it belongs.
That's right. I'm going to cut that out and dynamically insert it based on their geolocation.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
No, not. So, I think we will end it there. Thank you for joining us this week on Bitstorm.
if you want to find us online, which is the only place you're going to find us because we're a podcast.
If you want to find us offline, find us behind the magazine Mark, and we'll sell some audio cassettes.
If you want to find us offline, you're going to have to come to our fucking houses because there's a pandemic on and stay home. So don't come to our house. A pandemic on. Like someone put on a pandemic like it's a party.
It's a party and no one's invited.
Yeah,
because you've all got to stay the fuck at home.
Wash your hands. Podchaser.com/bitstorm is where you can actually go to find us online. Check out all our past episodes. Leave us some fantastic reviews or some shitty reviews if you hated it. That's fine. We want to hear it. And find all our other social stuff there too. We are also part of the 8-Bit Collective. This is a group of podcasts involved in all sorts of different pop culture-y, sort of things. Check them out at 8bit.net. Go check out some of the other podcasts there, including The Inconsolables, a recent addition to the 8-Bit Collective, and half of which you heard on the episode last week.
Yes. We'd also like it if you could check out the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network. Search for the Australasian Gaming Podcast Network on Facebook, or look for @AGP Network on Twitter. Finally, we'd like to thank Crowdust for the use of the song Mount Defiance off of the album Containment Failure.
That's right. So, thank you again for joining us this week on Bitstorm. I'm Ben Slinger.
I'm Trevor Scott.
And hey, Trev.
Yeah?
I found half of a gun. Let's do something.